Hey, I like that hat, man. You sell men's clothes where you got that?
I thought only pansies wore neckties.
Oh, yeah? See that? I thought only assholes use the word pants.
We'll just start over. Hello and welcome to Back in the Day. I'm Eric.
And I'm Lisa.
This is our YouTube channel, and it's dedicated to all things retro.
That's right. We're going to be talking about all of our favorite things from back in the day. So all of our favorite artists, albums, movies, food, TV shows, you name it, we're going to talk about it.
Yep, and we'll also be doing some cover songs from our favorite bands and talking about things from our favorite artists. So if that's something that you're interested in, please like and subscribe and share and hit the notification bell so that you know when there's new content. Let's start the show. Okay, so today's show is...
Footloose.
Yep, Footloose, 1984.
Everybody's favorite.
Kevin Bacon.
Ren McCormick, of course.
End of
Everybody
list.
knows. Yes, that's
Most
all
people.
we need to say is Ren McCormick. We're gonna just put it out there right now that although we will be saying a lot of things that we disagree with in this movie, we also love this movie. It is one of our favorites.
And when we say disagree, I think that what we're talking about is massive glaring plot holes in the film.
Yes.
So it's not necessarily that we disagree with the fact that teens should be dancing, or whether or not people should burn books. Spoiler alert, they shouldn't. But this is really about, I love this movie, however, I've seen it since 1984 1,000 times, and 999 of those I've went, wait a minute, hold on, what's that about?
Yeah.
And so that's what this is about.
Exactly. Well, so we're going to start off the show talking about one of the things that we absolutely should talk about, which is the soundtrack, the Footloose soundtrack.
Incredible soundtrack.
I will go ahead and say this is probably one of my top 5 favorite movie soundtracks.
It's a solid soundtrack.
Of all times.
It's right there with Saturday Night Fever, Grease.
Yes.
Another movie probably that has a great soundtrack. I don't know.
Well, I know you don't feel about Top Gun. It's not your favorite, but that is a great soundtrack too. One of my favorites. But this is definitely fantastic. Okay, so let's talk about it a little bit. So Eric actually bought me this album. This is the original album. So this is the one that would have been released in 1984. So originally, this had 9 songs on it. And then they re-released it in 1998. They added 3 other songs to it, which you don't find on this one, which is a shame because they're all great. So you have like Dancing in the Sheets, and then you have Bang Your Head, Mental Health.
Makes no sense why that one is not on there. I mean, that was a massive song. It was a monster hit for Quiet Riot.
I know.
And Ren comes rolling up in the bug, blaring Mental Health. That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, and then it doesn't have Waiting for a Girl Like You on it, and then it doesn't have Hurt So Good.
Yeah, again, also massive songs.
Mellencamp.
Massive songs.
I know. So it's a shame that those weren't on there, but they're not. But if you want to get it, you can. But it's not on this one. So, okay. Amazing album. It contained 6 Billboard Hot 100 Top 40 hits.
6 number 1 hits on this album.
6 of them.
Of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 songs in the original release. 6 were number 1s.
Yep.
That's insane.
Well, 3 of them reached top 10, so those included the 2 top 1 hits, so that would have been Footloose, Kenny Loggins, and then Let's Hear It for the Boy by Denise Williams. So those were top 1, and then...
and Bonnie Tyler. Bonnie Tyler. I mean, Holding Out for a Hero?
Yeah, Welsh singer, Bonnie Tyler. So that song is actually still incredibly popular, and
incredibly popular.
It's in a ton of ad campaigns. It's in videos and commercials. It was in a Doritos commercial. It's in
well, that's enough right there.
It's in Mortal Kombat video game. So it's kind of made its way into a lot of things, and it's still such an incredible song.
It's this is truly a solid album. Get it off the light there so you guys can really check this out. And
if you like any of these songs on here, please comment and let us know which ones were your favorite. There were some really amazing ones on here.
I think the unsung hero on this album is Mike Reno and Ann Wilson doing Almost Paradise.
Yep.
That ballad is in the back of my head, and I swear to you, probably until, at least within the last 10 years, it didn't really connect for me that I was listening to Ann Wilson of Heart and Mike Reno of Loverboy singing the song. It was just a song I always sang to myself. I never really cared who did it. I never owned the album or the soundtrack, so whatever. But that is an amazing story in itself.
Well, yeah. They the producers, they reached out to Anne and they asked, okay, well, this is going to be a duet. Who would you like to do this song with? She gave them a list, and Paul Rogers was on there, and Lou Gramm, a Foreigner, was on there. Mike Reno was not on that list.
It's not on my list.
So Mike Reno of Loverboy was on that list, and that's who they chose. And honestly, it turned out really great, and Anna's even said it's one of her favorite songs.
I think it's phenomenal, and if you don't tell me, and by the way, this is not, I'm not hating on Mike Reno, it's just that it's so off the radar. I'm not thinking, oh, that sounds like that Mike Reno guy. Like, but he's a great singer. I mean,
he is. He's a great singer. It's just different from what we're used to him doing.
Think about what you would have gotten with Paul Rogers.
Oh gosh.
Or freaking Lou Gramm. Oh my God! With Ann Wilson, you couldn't look directly into it without your eyes melting.
Well, I don't know who else was on the list. I would be curious to know, but I tried to find out, and those were the only two that I could legitimately be like, yeah, those two she named. I don't know who else. But honestly, it still turned out great.
It's great.
So fun fact, so this film soundtrack was the soundtrack that knocked Michael Jackson's Thriller off of the top U.S. album charts, where Thriller had ranked there for like a year. Footloose soundtrack comes in and it's like, psh,
take that, Thriller.
Thriller, you're gone. Which I actually love Thriller, but this is a great soundtrack. I mean,
Thriller ain't got no Mike Reno on it.
It's awesome. There's another fun fact I found. Okay, remember Thomas Dolby?
Oh yeah.
She blinded me with science.
Yeah.
He's the keyboardist on Waiting for a Girl Like You.
Yes, absolutely.
I did not know that. I did not know that until I started researching this. And I was like, what?
Do some more research onto things like that, and you'll find out for Foreigner specifically, they also had, which makes no sense because as far as I know, I think Mick Jones is like a pretty good keyboard player too. Yeah. But they also had the Guy Thompson twin to also do some keyboard work for them.
Okay, I think I knew that. I think I heard that, but I wasn't sure if that was.
Yeah, and that has nothing to do with Footloose. So, sorry, I went off topic there.
Well, and then the song Footloose, that was released ahead of the movie. So they actually released that song before the movie even was released ahead of the album.
Yeah, well, that's just smart marketing, and now pretty much everybody does that.
I know.
It really ramps you up for the movie.
Yeah, I love it. I love this album. I always will. Thank you for buying it for me, dear.
You got any more fun facts on that?
I think that's pretty much the gist
That's fun enough, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, so now let's do production.
Yep.
Okay, so this movie, I mean, originally pitched in 1981. Now, I've got a lot of notes here about this movie. That shows you that I have watched this movie, you and I have watched this movie too many times.
A lot.
But originally pitched 1981 by Dean Pitchford. Now, no one's going to really recognize that name. However, if you're an 80s kid, 70s, 80s kid, Dean Pitchford is pretty important to you because you don't have Fame without. Now, right now, everyone under the age of 35 is going, awesome, what's Fame?
I don't know.
Anyway, look that up, enjoy it, laugh at it. But when you were an 80s kid, man, Fame was the stuff.
I loved Fame.
Right? Everybody wanted to be in Fame. Anyway, so the guy who wrote the song for Fame wrote the treatment and script idea for this movie.
Yeah.
And originally they had Ron Howard, who was going to direct this thing. However, thankfully, Ron Howard says no because he's getting interested in this little thing called Splash.
Oh.
So had Ron Howard directed Footloose, I think that Footloose would still be phenomenal, but we wouldn't have Splash, or we wouldn't have Splash with Ron Howard's take on it. And
yeah, that was pretty great.
That's the whole world is not right if you don't have that. Let's see. Also, director Herbert Ross, and again, film nuts know him because this is the guy who was responsible for the massive, massive cinematic flop. I say cinematic flop. It's a beautiful film. However, financially, biggest goose egg in film history up to that point, Heaven's Gate. Massive Western opus. Phenomenal. Go look at it. We'll watch it sometime as much as we can. It's a long movie. But Lost like all of the money.
Oh my gosh.
So they handed him this, and it was basically you do this or you do nothing.
Yeah.
You do this teen dance film, or you do nothing. And so he took this
so
movie.
he kind of took it just because he was kind of forced to do it.
Paramount had zero faith in this film. They literally told everybody, look, this is going to be a write-off. No one's going to see this. We're going to put the guy who lost all of Hollywood's money in charge of it. And you almost want to think that it might have been an intentional write-off. They may have been looking at this like, let's, if you've seen the producers, we can make more money with a failure than we can with a success.
Yeah,
maybe that's what they were thinking. Anyway, so 1983, they started principal photography in Utah County, Utah. It's never really stated in the movie where it takes place. You're just left to assume that it must be in the Midwest, really, really close to Chicago.
Yep.
Because that's where Ren's from, right?
Yep.
However, the mountains in the background kind of give that away.
Yeah,
it's clearly not near Chicago.
Oh, no.
Let's see. So we've got Kevin Bacon, right? Kevin Bacon, who's the big anchor star from this movie, which really had done nothing other than Friday the 13th and Diner, both in supporting parts. He wanted to be a theater actor. They hand him this. He absolutely turns it down. His agent tells him, you really should reconsider this because it's a starring role. Just take it.
Yeah, just kind of keep getting your name out
So
there.
he works for Scale, and Footloose becomes this massive 80s anthemic hit. Laurie Singer as Ariel, sister to the Beastmaster. Only been on TV in Fame, aforementioned Fame that we talked about.
I remember her.
And actually is an accomplished cellist on her own, graduated from Juilliard. And I haven't seen any footage or heard anything of her playing, but if you get a degree from Juilliard, I got to assume you're pretty damn good at what you do.
You're pretty good, yeah.
Diane Wiest, mostly on TV. She did a TV movie called I'm Dancing as Fast as I Can. I've never seen that.
That sounds terrible.
I don't know. I don't know. It seems like maybe it's some sort of Helen Keller type thing. I'm not sure. And then you got John Lithgow. Now here's the thing. We all think about this movie and we think Kevin Bacon. But the reality is that the character of Reverend Shaw, played by John Lithgow, is actually the biggest star in the movie.
I know, that's wild. Because he had done the most acting and
he was
till that point.
He was the biggest guy. So we're talking about also I'm Dancing as Fast as I Can with Diane Wiest. The World According to Garp. Robin Williams' first big major movie. Let's not forget Twilight Zone, the movie. You want to see something really scary?
Yes.
Right? I mean, that's phenomenal. He did the Day After. Do you remember? If you're an 80s kid, do you remember The Day After?
Oh my gosh.
It was a nuclear thing.
That freaking movie scared
John
the shit
Lithgow.
out of me.
Not only that, all of that,
Scared
he
me.
had just come off of Terms of Endearment.
That's right.
So
that was so Footloose was after that.
Yeah, so John
that's
Lithgow,
right.
actually the star of Footloose.
He was in some pretty big movies.
He
then.
absolutely was.
That.
Absolutely was. So now let's talk about some quirky stuff in production. So again, we all immediately remember Kevin Bacon.
Yes.
But what if the role of Ren McCormick had been played by Tom Cruise, who was #1 for the role, turned it down to do All the Right Moves, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
Then they went to Rob Lowe, who also turned it down. There's a few other names, none as big as that. And then you get, of course, Kevin Bacon, and we're all happy that he did that. Now, to me, the most surprising part of this is trying to cast the role of Ariel. We all can't imagine anyone else other than Laurie Singer, although I would like to.
I would really like to.
Especially when you have this list. We are talking about Daryl Hannah, Elizabeth McGovern, Melanie Griffith, Michelle Pfeiffer, Jamie Lee Curtis, Rosanna Arquette, Meg Tilly, Julia Louis-Dreyfus from Seinfeld, Heather Locklear, Meg Ryan, Jennifer Jason Leigh, Jodie Foster, Phoebe Cates, Tatum O'Neal, Bridget Fonda, Lori Loughlin, Diane Lane, and Brooke Shields all turned it down before it got to Laurie Singer, who was like, yeah, sure, whatever, I'll do that.
It was a good move on her part.
It's a great move on her part because other than Footloose, the only thing I can think of if you say Laurie Singer, the only other movie that I can think of is Warlock 1.
Yeah.
She's in Warlock, so I don't know if anybody remembers that.
I don't even remember that. I just remember her from Fame. That's it.
Oh, that's Julian Sands, who plays, a time-traveling male witch that, shows back up in the 80s. And anyway, it's just as wonderful as it sounds. So anyway, let's go into our next segment, which is we have issues.
We still need to think of a name, what we want to have for this segment.
Yeah, I think I got issues. It's probably, I think it's true,
Yeah.
and it's a good name. So let's start with your issues.
All right. Well, okay. Well, let's talk about the shoe montage
Yes.
at the very beginning of the film.
Yes.
I mean, this is
Start at the top.
This is an iconic way to start the movie. As soon as it starts, well, not only do you have the beginning of Footloose, but then you see the shoes, and
Yeah.
even if you didn't have the song, you'd be like, "That's Footloose."
Absolutely.
So yeah, so over 150 different pairs of feet were shot.
Those were all individual feet? They didn't reuse feet?
They didn't reuse feet.
Are
As
those-
far as I know, well, maybe they
Were those
did.
all union feet?
I don't know. But 100. Well, that's what was stated. 150 different pairs of feet,
So 75 people.
probably.
Okay.
If you're doing two different pairs. of
I
shoes
would.
for-
I'd do 2 shoes.
Well, the dancer with the gold shoes was Kitty Loggins.
Most memorable pair of shoes?
I know.
Come
because
on.
They're so freaking ugly.
Absolutely. The only thing I could remember about that, if
They're
you were to
ugly as
tell me what you remember about the opening of Footloose, I would say the gold shoes, and then I would say
Yeah.
the raunchy ass leg warmers that some girl is wearing, and they're halfway down the shoe.
Yeah, she's, like, standing
Oh,
on
it's
them.
disgusting.
I'm like, gross.
You know, I take issue with that too. It's wild that you said that like that's your number, that's your starting point, because
Yeah.
for me, I always felt like every time I watch a movie, I'm just like, if this were in a time capsule and they were to watch this movie today, they would think, well, hold on. So in 1984, you guys just wore the ugliest, like butt ugliest shoes.
Some of us
that you
did.
could- Well, some of us did, but let's just be
Yeah.
honest. Like, come on.
That's some
Th-
Kmart blue light special shit right
There's
there.
hardly any shoes in that sequence that don't have holes in them.
No, they're terrible.
You know, I mean, anyway, yeah, it's just, ugly 80s shoes. Trust me, we had cooler shoes than that.
We did.
I mean, for crying out loud, we had the Vans with the little
That's a whole
checkerboards.
other. That's a whole other podcast.
We had
topic.
Keds, yeah, the
That's
Keds
a
on
whole
there.
other
We had little
topic.
boat shoes. We had all kinds of cool
We
shoes.
did. We had cool shoes.
Okay, I take issue with this. Now, this is not just with Footloose, but Footloose is an egregious offender. To quote Richard Marx, a repeat offender
Yeah.
of this issue, which is. Why are you trying to make me believe that all of these juniors and seniors are juniors and seniors and not 35-year-olds with mortgages? There's absolutely no way that these are high school kids.
No.
And for crying out loud, look, suspending disbelief is one thing. I know that we can film day for night, night for day, dry for wet. We can film.
Yeah.
We can film Ren McCormick, who's actually 27 in real life, as an 18-year-old.
Yeah.
He's passable. He's actually passable. Right?
He
Gary
is,
Coleman
yes.
was passable, right? There's lots of
Yes.
actors that can do that. The problem is that there's a great number of actors in this movie that are clearly 30.
Oh yeah, they're way above like what you would find in a high school setting.
And anyway, I'm not picking a bones. I guess specifically with Footloose. That's a thing that we did a lot in the '80s. Red Dawn is another offender. There's a lot of them.
there's way too many to
too
count.
many. There's too many. What's your next one there? What you got?
All right, so my thing, we've talked about this is, okay, so during the aerial highway surfing scene.
Oh my God.
Why doesn't the truck driver who's coming towards them, why doesn't he stop, pull off the road?
Just blows his horn. That's
he just
it.
blows the horn and just goes
Yeah.
right in between them?
The truck. Let's be honest. The truck driver.
Yeah,
Fully prepared to kill Ariel.
just doesn't give a damn.
No,
He's
not
like,
gonna.
y'all are gonna be
he's
that
not
stupid?
swerving. He's not hitting the brake. You don't see the. He's not doing any of that. He's just like
psh.
meep meep
Yes.
meep meep.
And at the very last second, she gets pulled into Chuck's
which is a
truck,
terrible shot. That's a terrible.
which is bullshit because
It-
that
it's-
would never happen.
it's a
She would
terrible
be
shot.
mangled if that were to. I mean, let me just.
We can get
That's so
we
ridiculous.
can get back into Ariel's cry for help.
Oh, we'll go into
later.
lots of that, but yeah. So why doesn't the truck driver stop? It always blows my mind, but yeah,
Okay, so
it's a question for the ages.
It's a question for the ages. Okay, so my next point of contention is that John Lithgow was only 12 years older than Laurie Singer.
Yeah.
And Diane Weiss was only 10 years older than Laurie Singer. So again,
Yes.
there's suspension of disbelief. And then there's like, look, y'all, what the hell, man? Like, did you guys have this kid at 12? Because
Apparently.
that just bugs me. Even before I knew the exact ages, as a kid, I'd watch that and be like, she looks older than 18.
Yeah.
To be fair, not to be mean, but to be fair, Diane Weiss and John Lithgow don't look that young.
I didn't think so.
They look
I mean, when I
appropriate.
was a kid, it seemed like
They seemed
that
old, right?
was- yeah.
They seemed old.
Everyone seemed old to me when I was
But Laura
like
Singer
9.
to me, I was just like, and it just, and there you go. I mean,
Yeah.
only 10 and 12 years apart. What else you got? What else you got? Let's keep bearing this.
Okay, so when everyone's at the High Box Diner,
You notice Lisa knows the name of the
I
diner.
do. Everyone's at the High Box Diner, and everyone, and I mean everyone, can hear Chuck's boombox playing Shalimar's Dancing in the Sheet. The cook who's flipping burgers can hear it, and the girls talking in the bathroom can hear it.
Yeah.
Everyone in the parking lot can hear this boombox.
Yeah, that's how we rolled in the
Like
80s.
enough to be like jamming to it, not to be like, hey, is somebody playing something in the parking lot? No.
Again, there's suspension of disbelief that in the film, like, okay, music, but yeah, realistically, I've worked in a
Yeah.
restaurant. There's no way that a line cook is going to be back there getting down with Dancing in the Sheets
You can't hear
off of a
that
boombox this big. Let's
In
be
the parking
let's be
lot.
realistic. It's this big.
Yeah.
In the parking lot.
Yes.
And yet, girls in the bathroom can hear it. Yeah, it's
They're
insane.
I'm like, wait a minute, no, there's no way that would work. There's
Yeah,
no way.
that okay. So all right.
Maybe I'm nitpicking, I don't know, but that's just kind
Well,
of,
that's what this is. We are going to nitpick here. And all right, so my next nitpick is, for for a town forbidden to dance, every kid knows how to do it really freaking well.
yes.
All right, that makes no sense considering
Yeah.
no one's got MTV, no one's got cable, no one can
No.
get tapes.
No.
Like, where the hell are you learning to dance? Not only where are you learning to dance, because let's be honest, you could just make some crap up, I guess, and most of us do. But
Yeah.
But how do you learn to dance that well in unison, like right, and have like all the right kind of like choreographed
I don't
moves?
see how that's possible.
Yeah, that always bugged me too. What's your next one?
Oh, my next one is, it was just kind of like how we touch on Willard a little bit, like, and then I know you got some stuff you want to say. Just
I love Willard.
He's kind of looked at like he's like the idiot,
Yeah, the dumb hick.
just doesn't know anything, but he's actually really insightful. Like, he's lived in a small town a long time. He's able to really understand what's going on, and he's just got a lot of insight as to why things are the way they are, and explains it, and is kind of just like, this is just the way it is. He's lived in this town a long time, and he's actually a good resource for everybody to kind of like talk to and get,
Yeah, I grew up
information from.
as you did. I think the town that I grew up in was a little smaller than yours, but still by
bit.
comparison. But we both grew up in small towns.
Yeah.
I didn't know anybody like Willard in my town. Most guys who were like Willard in my town were like Chuck in my town.
Yes.
There are no Willards in small town America.
No.
So Willard for me is the best character in the movie.
He's great.
He's the heart of the movie. Willard and Rusty. I don't understand why, because this movie became such a hit.
Yeah.
Why didn't we get a sequel? And if Kevin Bacon didn't want to do it, for crying out loud, give us. I mean, you've got a perfect opportunity right there. This was
Yeah.
Sarah Jessica Parker's first film ever, and she kills it, right?
Yeah,
Before
she
that,
did
she's
great.
doing Square Pegs. But
Oh, wow,
But
yes,
but
yes.
yeah, and this is Christopher Penn, and I am such a Christopher Penn cheerleader.
Yeah, he's great. He's
Christopher
great.
Penn in this, Christopher Penn in At Close Range. Don't even get me started. But yeah, I totally agree with you that Willard, best character in the movie.
Absolutely.
Okay, so well, you know what? Let's back up just a second. Let's talk about one more thing about the Willard character.
Okay.
Willard's character in the script can't dance. Here's the thing. It wasn't in the script that he couldn't dance. It was Christopher Penn letting the producers know, I can't dance. So
Yeah.
because there was a dance scene. He's like, I can't dance. He legitimately couldn't dance.
Yeah.
So Kevin Bacon says, I'll show him how to dance. Right?
Yeah.
I'll show him how to dance. So all of the scenes where Kevin Bacon is showing Christopher Penn how to dance, those are real.
I know, which is pretty cool.
Christopher Penn can't dance. It's hilarious when you look at it now and know that, right? I feel kind of bad because I'm like, oh my God, I've been laughing at the guy thinking he's been acting like he can't dance.
But he did not know how to dance
He
prior.
legitimately can't do it.
And I mean, he's still not like, the greatest.
No, but when
like,
you-
light years away from probably where he started.
I can appreciate that though, because what
And
would
I
you?
think it's great.
What would you get today? What would you get today? You would get a classically trained, a hip hop
Oh,
dancer
yes.
who would act like he couldn't dance, and then boom, all of a sudden
Yes.
he's doing all the stuff.
Which I think is endearing. That
I love Christopher Penn, and I'm
think
sorry.
it's great.
I'll get off my soapbox about Christopher Penn. Okay, so Ariel's brother, has to be addressed.
Yeah.
We have to talk about Ariel's brother. Now, I could say we should talk about, I could go back and we could backtrack why we should talk about Ariel's brother, but I think the fact that we don't talk about or address Ariel's brother is a kind of a big deal, because why can't you dance and listen to rock music in Beaumont? Because kids died.
Yes.
On, I don't remember what the damn bridge, you'd think with all the stuff we'd write the bridge name down, but some kids died on this bridge, and they talk about it at the beginning of the movie. Ren sits down, he's there with Willard, and they were talking about, going out dancing. What is there to do around here? And there ain't no dancing, there ain't no music. Why? Well, because, you don't know?
Some kids died on a
some
bridge.
kids died, Now, again, here's my point with this. Why I reference specifically Ariel's brother, because the kid, not the one that died, was Ariel's brother.
Yes, which
Reverend
is
Shaw's son.
Significant.
Incredibly significant, right? Now, here we have a moment at the cafeteria, right?
Yep.
Willard, Ren, or however you want to play it. This is the perfect opportunity for Willard to say, oh, well, you don't know? Well, some kids died on bridge 5 years ago, and one of them was Reverend Shaw's son, Ariel's brother. Ariel, you mean the wicked witch that I met that, gave me the goo-goo eyes?
Yep.
Yes, the very same. And now we know why there's this tension, right?
It would all make sense.
It would all make sense. Freaking 45 seconds of dialogue and it would all make sense.
Yes.
Okay?
Early on. So then you get it. It's not like dropped on you like halfway through the film.
Even when it is dropped on you, it's like it's literally an afterthought. And
it's literally like a 15-second conversation.
It's lazy filmmaking is what it is.
I think they start obviously running out of time, and we're like, where can we cut corners and just like...
Yeah, you cut the wrong corner.
Yeah.
You cut the wrong corner, Herbert Ross. What's your next point here?
How did Ren and Chuck get 2 tractors out on the gravel road? Without anyone noticing, because let's be honest here, that they're tractors. It's not like they're driving go-karts.
No.
Or, bikes or something. These are tractors.
All right. Again, just like Ariel's brother, we have to talk about this, because what is it that? All right, there's a conversation between Ren and what's the guy's name? Woody? Woody. There's a conversation between Ren and Woody as Woody is explaining to him how to operate the tractor.
Yeah.
And what does Ren say?
Has anybody ever died?
Anybody ever died doing this? And what does Woody say with a straight face? Not joking.
Well, once.
Well, just once.
Yeah.
Okay. Now. Let's do the math.
Big deal.
One kid dies on the bridge. We can't listen to Quiet Riot, and we can't dance, and we can't watch MTV, and we can't read Catcher in the Rye. However, Slaughterhouse 5. We die on the tractor. Not only are we allowed to take tractors back up to the place, but this place isn't even like cordoned off. No. Clearly, this is like tractor death road, and just to your point, no one wondered where in the hell the 2 tractors were heading off to, because that kid died.
Somebody got those tractors, drove them out there.
Yeah.
They didn't just magically appear.
No, they didn't. So that's a hell of a point. That's a hell of a point.
Just one of those things I noticed.
Okay, so leading more towards it, no dancing, no rock music. However, rampant underage drinking while driving, totally fine.
Yes.
Cigarettes, pot, premarital sex, all totally fine.
Teenage pregnancies.
Yeah, there's a pregnant girl. There's a pregnant girl. There's a pregnant girl. But yeah, for crying out loud, don't you be listening to Shalimar. All right, so again, major plot hole. That's lazy writing. That's lazy writing.
Because dancing is bad.
What else you got?
How was Ren able to just drive his car into that industrial plant and start dancing? So, okay, he just moved into town. How did he know about this vacant
steel mill on the edge of town? Why would he think he could just drive his car in there and just get out and start doing a full-on angry dance routine? Well, hold up. First of all, it's called punch dancing.
Why did he drive in
and
there
it's important.
and start doing punch dancing? And let's just not forget the fact that he drove into this vacant building that he didn't know he could go into, but he did it anyway. Was drinking a beer when he's
open beer
driving there and smoking, and then he's drinking it when he gets out. I don't know. It was just kind of like.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Where
Like,
would you do
like
that? In what town would you do that?
You can just buy beer and pot everywhere in Beaumont, no matter what age you are. But I mean, don't listen to Quiet Riot or the cops pull you over. All right, look.
There's a lot of like, you know.
As I mentioned, we both grew up in small towns.
Mm-hmm.
I actually grew up in a small town where my family was part of the settlement of that town, and we had 3 Baptist ministers.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm from the South. 3 Baptist ministers in my family.
Yeah.
So I take notice of things like that, and so for me, noticing that Beaumont only has one church blows my mind. First of all, let's just be honest, it's in Utah.
Yes.
There should be churches on top of churches, next to
Everywhere,
churches.
But you're not supposed to think it's in Utah. So.
Well, okay, fine. I'm just saying, but it is. All right, so let's do that. Let's take the fact that I know that it's in Utah out of it. But here's how we know that there's only one church. Because Reverend Shaw seems to be the only person in town anybody listens to.
Oh, yeah.
At the town hall, how many times, well, 0 probably, but how many times has anybody ever seen a town hall and the freaking reverend from Podunk Church is sitting there
Never.
on the council? Never, right? When is it that reverends are making laws for
like
the town?
the
I mean,
whole separation of church and state should be completely off there, but not in this town.
My point is one church in Beaumont. One church. That's crazy.
Yeah.
And that's a bit lazy. It's a bit lazy on the writing of the film there.
I think so too.
What you got next?
So to me, the story loses just a little bit of steam when you realize that all that Ren and Ariel have to do is go across the state line, and then they can dance, they can listen to music, and they can do everything they want. So they're not really unable to do this. They can go to the town over or cross the state line.
It's about 45 minutes away, I think he says.
45 minutes away for some personal freedom.
Yeah, so you
You're
drive.
not being.
I mean, we live outside Atlanta.
Yeah.
It's 45 minutes to anywhere from here. But the fact that any kid in Beaumont can drive 45 minutes away and get drunk and dance and do whatever.
And be teenagers in a full-on adult bar.
How does Ren even know that that's a thing? He drove.
He just moved to town. How the hell did he know about this place?
Blows my mind. And again, second reference, driving back, we hear about the bridge. I'm going to get off that, but I'm just saying it's lazy. All right, so let's talk about, I think that we can all agree that the most exciting part about when they drive over to the next county or whatever the hell it is, we have the most exciting character in the whole movie.
Oh, yeah.
Literally named in the credits. Fat Cowboy. Fat Cowboy. That's not a slur.
No, that's
his name.
That's what his title is in the movie.
Now, to be fair, let's just get this out there. Fat Cowboy is actually an actor by the name of John Perryman. So, unfortunately, no matter what else he may have been credited with, he's always going to be Fat Cowboy to everybody.
Yep.
Okay, so I also want to talk about gymnastics team.
Oh.
What small town?
Yes.
What big city? How many really have a gymnastics team in 1984?
That would be 0.
Right? So
0.
Ren apparently was already, I'm assuming he already knows how to do these things. He moves to Beaumont.
Yep. Beaumont.
And again, lazy filmmaking. What do we find out? There's a conversation being had by Ren. He's on the parallel bars, or whatever the hell they're called, the swingy bars.
Yeah.
And he's having a conversation with Willard where he says, "Oh no, I'm sorry, I'm wrong. They're at the car wash. They cut me from the gymnastics team."
And we're like, "What?
Like, when the hell did you get on the gymnastics team?"
We didn't even see him try out. And who was on this freaking gymnastics team? Who are the gymnasts? In Beaumont.
We know that there's a coach.
They don't even dance. So who's doing gymnastics?
We'll get to that. Yeah, you can't dance, but you can wear.
You can do backflips.
You can wear unitards showing off all your business.
And do back handsprings and practically kill yourself on like gym equipment. But
all right,
that's fine.
So let's parlay that, right? Let's segue from gymnastics into the situation with Rich and Mr. Gerntz.
Oh,
okay?
yeah.
Because these things kind of have something to do with one another. First of all, Rich. we know that he's one of Chuck's buddies, cronies,
Yes.
ne'er-do-wells.
Yeah.
What in the hell is he hanging around trying to gain Ren's confidence for? That's never going to work, right? That's a massive plot hole right there.
Yeah.
That's lazy writing, like number 8 or whatever by now.
Yep.
And the second part of that is he's trying to give Ren some weed, which, well, that's very nice of him.
Yeah.
However, right around the corner comes Mr. Gertz, which is actually Coach Gertz.
Yes.
Okay? So there's clearly some cahoots going on here.
Yep.
Between the coach, Rich, and I've got another theory about other shadowy figures that are at play here. But we
Roger.
you never see this being set up.
No.
You only hear about it after the fact one more time. We'll talk about that. But there's
I don't even know that Rich and Ren have had any sort of dialogue or have talked or really even know each other. It's like they're just transplanted together in this classroom.
It's a weird scene, and quite honestly,
Yeah, it's never made sense.
if you remove the scene from the film, it changes nothing. This
Yes.
scene adds nothing to the movie.
Yeah.
I mean, so you're going to take out, presumably, you're going to take out the explanation about Ariel's brother, but you're going to leave in the drug scene, the pot scene. I mean, and again,
Yes.
I love.
With nothing leading up to it for you to understand what the hell's going on.
I love Ren. Oh, I've got my own sources. Jesus, man, you've only lived here for 5 days.
Exactly.
I mean, he's a fast mover.
That is not how being a new kid in high school works. Let's just be real. I was a new kid in high school.
He's a fast mover. He's a fast mover. I think Ren is what you would call a playa.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
With his David Bowie skinny tie,
That's right.
in his Volkswagen.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. All right. What's your next one? What you got?
Why isn't Chuck in jail?
Oh.
After he, kind of, puts a hurting on Ariel, which we have a conversation coming up about that. But why isn't he in jail? Why weren't the police notified? Why aren't her parents notified? This was a big deal.
Why weren't his parents notified?
Why wasn't there something that went on? It was like it happened.
Chuck's dad is the fire chief.
Yes. Her dad is the freaking reverend.
Yeah.
I mean, something should have happened, but it was like, oh, this is just commonplace.
And it's
just not worry about
yeah,
it. Just
look,
throw some makeup on it.
Regardless of the details, when you go back and analyze this this fight between Chuck and Ariel, regardless of these details, if you omitted that scene blindly and Ariel just shows up in the next scene, which is, if I'm not mistaken, is in the kitchen with her father.
Yeah.
Right? She's got a big black eye and her mouth is swollen. You're not concerned as to how any of this might have happened? No, you just smack her again, right
in the face
same
again. Ariel's having a real bad couple of days, getting beaten by men and stuff. It's like, but no one said anything. So why wasn't he in jail?
That escalated quickly.
I know. Why wasn't he in jail?
Beaten by men. I don't know.
She was.
Okay, who's growing all the pot in Beaumont? Who's growing all the pot? Is it Chuck? My theory is that it's Chuck. Okay?
I would think it's Chuck.
Because there's a lot of pot in Beaumont.
Chuck and Rich and all them probably.
Yeah, I'm thinking, because we don't see what Chuck does for a living, right? Although we have to assume he's not a high schooler.
Yeah.
By comparison, if Lori Singer is a senior, then Chuck is out of school and then must be 40. I don't know. But we don't see that he does anything for a living. He just kind of always has some scrap in like the back of his truck.
He's just always hanging out with high school kids and being a douche.
Yeah, which is the thing. But he always has weed. He's the guy smoking weed more than anybody. As a matter of fact, I don't know if I can recall anyone else actually smoking pot. I think we could maybe assume we could assume that maybe Ren might have been smoking at one point. It's kind of hard to tell. But I think that we have to assume that all the pot in Beaumont is probably being grown by that one group of people, right? You got Chuck, Rich, maybe another guy, and that's probably where it's all coming from.
Probably.
We got so many things here. I'm going to have to skip over a few of mine because they're just not as cool as some of these others. But what's the next one you've got there?
Okay, so this kind of goes back to what, why isn't Chuck in jail, is Ren's reaction to Ariel when he brings her makeup and she gives him the music box and they're kind of talking and she's putting her makeup on and like, how does it look, kind of, and he replies to her facial cuts. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Right. He replies to her facial cuts and black eye, and the fact that she was beaten with, "I think you'll pull through."
Well,
it's like, hold up here, Ren.
I think there's an obvious reason why Ren said that.
I know. You don't think he really cares
Absolutely
about her?
not. Absolutely not. I think Ren sees her for what she is,
A train
right?
wreck.
Which is at full on a train wreck. But I think at best he sees her as like, well, I mean, you know, she's pretty and she's popular and like I could do worse. I don't get it. Personally, I would have probably set my eyes on Rusty if Willard wasn't going to make her honest. There's plenty of other girls in that town that, you know, I mean, you could do better than Ariel. Anyway, I think that the reason that, you know, I never even thought about that until you brought it up when we were talking about doing this show. I really think that Ren just doesn't like her that much. I think he thinks she's fine.
I would think so, because most people, depending on who, you know, was hurt, if the person you care about has been hurt or beaten or you'd be very concerned. You'd be angry, you'd be ready to retaliate, kick some ass of your own.
If there's anything that Footloose has taught me, maybe only second to Karate Kid, is that violence solves everything.
Yes.
So the fact that Ren doesn't grab Willard and Woody and put a posse together and go off to get.
Yes, like why is there not some sort of like, okay, this is unacceptable. We're gonna have to go in.
He's willing to take on the whole town to listen to Quiet Riot.
Yes, but not to come to his girlfriend's rescue and be like, that's wrong.
It ain't his girlfriend.
Slap some makeup on it, give me a music box, you'll be fine.
You'll be all right.
Yeah.
Put some dirt on it, get back in the game. All right, so every kid in Beaumont has a dirt bike, I have to assume. There's the scene, let's talk about it. There's the scene, right, at the end of the film where, spoiler alert, they have a prom. So they're going there to clean out the basement in the seed factory or whatever the hell it is. Yeah. And you see like 3 or 4 kids on dirt bikes with, you know, they're carrying their girlfriends or whatever. And that's fine.
Yeah.
The problem is that the next scene, there's like 9, 12 dirt bikes.
They're all like
there's like a gang. It's like Sturgis. And everybody has a dirt bike. And again, I grew up in a small town. I grew up in the country. I had a dirt bike. I'm not having an issue with that. What I'm taking an issue with is this is the only time outside of Willard that we see anybody else on a dirt bike.
Yeah.
Okay?
And they're all
so
on one.
all of a sudden we're just introducing this whole dirt bike cult community. There's a lot to unpack in this movie. That's all I'm saying. Please watch this movie.
Yes, and then none of them are wearing helmets.
Nobody's wearing a helmet.
And this isn't a town that is concerned with kids being hurt.
Right.
And all of these effing teenagers are on motorcycles.
But give them a dirt bike.
That's crazy. And then make sure you don't wear a helmet because, you know, if you fall off, you might break your neck, but that's fine.
You're going to mess up your 80s hair.
Just don't dance.
You're going to mess up your 80s hair.
Don't dance and don't listen to tapes.
Okay, so let's get to the end here. Like I said, spoiler alert, there's a prom. Okay, so there's a prom. They're down there taking care of business, setting up things for this prom. I never see where the massive tanker truck of glitter pulls up. However, someone had to be there with a shovel, shoveling in all the glitter. I challenge you to watch the end of this movie. Really, just it's like a movie. You ever watch a movie where someone has to hold their breath underwater and you feel like I'm going to hold my breath to see if I can hold my breath as long as they can. Look at how much glitter there is here now. If you've ever experienced glitter on you,
it's a nightmare.
That's insane. These kids had glitter. Not to mention, what the hell, man? When Randy comes back to his basement and he's never getting that glitter out of there. It's never coming out. No. Anybody that's ever been to a strip club still has glitter on them. There's no way Randy's getting all this out.
I'm sure the cast of Footloose still has glitter they're picking out. They're like still finding it in their shoes and shit. Or there's some still in my hair. I don't know. Yep.
What else you got here about the end of the movie?
It was basically only like, why doesn't Reverend Moore know like what's going on with Ariel? You know what I mean? Like for him being such a prominent person in town, how does he not know all of the things that she's
I think he knows.
going on?
I think he knows. He's
It
the
would just
Reverend's
be a
daughter.
scandal. All the stuff she does would be a
Sure.
scandal.
Well, you know what? The same thing could be said for Chuck, though. I mean, his dad is the fire chief, so it's
Yeah.
got. I mean, people have to know what's going on with these kids. Seems like the kids all know.
Well, when she's in the church and she's like, "I'm not even a virgin,"
I'm
and
not
he's
even
like,
a virgin.
"Don't you talk like that in here?" And it's like, you
she does
seriously didn't
she does
know?
she does the '80s thing with her arms out and the whole thing.
Yes.
Yeah, so good.
I'm not even a virgin. And he's like, "Don't you talk like that in here?"
Big puffy shoulders.
It's like, wait a second. You clearly did not know because you were very angry that she is just now told
He
you
seemed
this
more angry that she said it
in church.
In church.
Don't you talk like that in here?
We all knew she wasn't a virgin. There's that whole scene where they're smoking weed and they're
And
putting
they're
their
in the
clothes back on.
woods.
And Willard only seems to think that she's been kissed a lot. I don't think they were
she's
kissing.
she's had her panties down.
I've
a lot.
never had to take my shirt off to kiss, or my boots, or anyway.
Your red boots.
Yeah, those are cool boots. Okay, so let's talk about the glaring issue that they don't win.
No.
The whole movie leads up to this awesome dialogue between, well, you could say dialogue. It's really just more of a monologue that Ren's character, is talking about. He's challenging Reverend Shaw about these Bible verses that all reference being free and freedom and dancing and celebrating.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, Kevin Bacon did not know he had a debilitating fear of public speaking until he had to do that scene.
Oh, yeah.
Broke out in hives and shingles.
Oh, yeah.
And then had to have therapy to be able to do that. So
Wow,
kudos for
yeah.
him for getting over that. It's a great scene. It's a great scene.
I really do like that
But
scene.
we get to that scene, and the entire film culminates into this summit of this monologue, and they lose. They don't say they lose.
Yeah.
You only know that because Randy, they railroaded you, and
Yeah.
that's all you hear. This
Yes.
is just like just like Ariel's brother. This is
Yep.
like, they railroaded you anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So they have, back to your point, they have the prom where? Just over the county line.
Yeah.
What?
It's not even in Beaumont.
This clearly is the answer to everything.
Yes.
Pot, fist fights, and just go over the county line.
Just don't let us see it.
Yes.
We don't want to know about it.
Yes.
Just take it across the state line. Let them deal with the shit, and we're gonna still be all homogenized and virtuesque over here, and then that's it.
What else you got? And then let's get to our
I'm
wrap
just
up
gonna
here.
I'm just gonna talk about my favorite scenes,
Okay.
and then you can talk about what you need to.
Sure.
I have two favorite scenes. The first one is, which is funny because it's the scene where Ariel and Ren are, meeting up after she's had her face bashed in and she's putting her makeup on.
Bashed in might be.
I'm exaggerating.
Okay.
I'm being overly dramatic, but whatever. So she's putting makeup on. She gives him the music box, and then she asks, "Are you ever going to kiss me?" And
You ever gonna kiss me?
finally he does. But in that moment, cue the 80s guitars, and you have that
Almost Paradise. Yeah.
And then they kiss finally, and I'm like, oh, I love it.
Such a girl.
I love that part. I seriously love that part. I still get very excited when I see that part. It's just a good kiss too. And she finally gets kissed, and he finally kisses her, even though we think he really doesn't like her. But
I don't think he
whatever.
likes her. I'm sorry.
And then my second favorite scene is when they're in the church, and Reverend Moore is, kind of letting them know that he's giving them his blessing to do the prom, even though it's not going to be in Beaumont. He's giving them their blessing, and then Ren and Ariel and all of them realize that they're getting permission to do this, and then they start getting really excited, and everyone's like happy, and they're like clapping and everything, and then cue the Kenny Loggins song, "I'm Free, Heaven Help the Man."
Well, it's just here. It's
Yes.
right here. It's
Heaven help the man that finds his
I'm free,
feet.
heaven helps the man.
Love's the only thing.
Let's also not downplay the importance in that scene specifically of the smile and little eye squint this is pre Renee Zellweger. Diane Weiss gives this perfect smile.
Yes.
which is absolutely like, woo! You know,
Yes.
there's something about the Reverend saying it is one thing, you're just like, oh, that's awesome. But then you get this smile from Mom.
Yep.
I don't know if it does it for anybody else. But
And Ren is so happy. He's smiling. He's beaming. Ariel's happy. All the kids are
it's
so
a good
happy.
scene. It's a good scene.
And then the song comes in, and it's just freaking perfect.
And let's be honest, this is not, you know, this is not My Time Was Better Than Your Time, but in the 80s we had the best use of pop music in film. It would elevate a scene.
Yes.
All of a sudden we're using pop music everywhere. And like this film specifically, really, with all of these issues, it uses music so well. So well.
It's done well.
You know, again, go watch this movie.
Oh my gosh, yes. This movie's fantastic.
Okay,
I love
so
this movie.
okay, so you talked about your 2 favorite scenes.
Yeah.
I have to talk about something that I'm not going to go favorite scenes. I agree with you. Those are probably some of the strongest, even though I would probably throw punch dancing in there. Punch dancing is pretty great.
It is pretty great because it's
and Willard's dance montage, a la Rocky, is phenomenal.
Yeah,
it's phenomenal. But we have to talk about who the true villains in this film are.
Yeah.
Okay. We would like to think that the bad guy is the Reverend and the bad guy is Chuck.
Yeah.
That's not true. The bad guys in this movie, right off the bat, are Ariel.
Yep.
I'll explain why, and Roger.
Yeah.
We haven't talked about Roger.
Ariel and Roger.
Okay, isn't Roger a coach also?
Yes,
He's also a coach, maybe the gymnastics coach. But we have to.
I'm pretty sure he is.
Well,
I
think we can tie it together though, because
Yeah.
Ren gets kicked off the gymnastics team.
Yes.
So let's tie this together, okay?
Yeah.
So Ariel, let's just start at the top. Car surfing, setting up the fight between Chuck and Ren. What does she say? I volunteered.
Oh yeah.
That's full-on bitch energy right there. Cheats on Chuck.
Yeah.
Property damage to Chuck's truck. Now, Chuck wasn't right in what he did either. However, he was antagonized.
He was.
He was wrong, but he was antagonized.
Yeah.
Constantly antagonizing her father also. What is it that she says to Ren? She tries to get Ren to embarrass her dad in front of the entire town. What does Ren say? This is not about your father. Right?
This isn't a fight against your father. You can't take my, fight as some screw you to your old man kind of thing.
Exactly.
That's
So
what
she,
he
at
said.
every turn, and then she plays chicken with the train. There is nothing about Ariel, I'm sorry, that is good. This is a
No.
terrible character, and she's a villain. So the second villain, let's talk about Roger.
Yeah.
Now, Roger is this innocuous little he seems like a little plebe that doesn't really, we don't even know why he's there. Like
He's a little shit starter.
But, he's the leader of what I consider this very sinister shadow organization in Beaumont, right?
Yeah.
It's hinted at in the conversation with Reverend Shaw where he says, we got that young English teacher fired. Now that was all being referenced in the opening of the film where they are talking about what books that, need to be taken out of the library.
Yeah, what books they're going to burn.
And then they start burning books.
Yes.
Then let's not underestimate the fact that he is a coach. We have to assume maybe the gymnastics coach, even though pretty out of shape for a gymnastics coach or a coach of any type. But,
Yep.
Ren gets cut from the team, and, there's a lot of things going on here. There's also, we need to mention, and you probably know it more than I do, Ren's uncle? What's his name? Do you know his name?
Gosh.
I can't remember, but...
If you know...
Yeah, please comment
Put in the
below.
comments. We
Please
know
comment
it. We're
below.
just not coming to me right now.
But I think that Ren's uncle is also in this organization.
Oh, he's an
because he
ass.
always seems to know crap too. Or there was an issue with some tractors over on.
Yes.
And you don't know
Yes.
anything about that. Oh, there was some trouble down at the high school today with some
Yes.
drugs. You wouldn't know anything about that, would you?
Yep. And I'm not trying to take the place of your father. I mean, just
That's a weird thing to
just
say.
inserting himself constantly.
That's a weird thing for an uncle to say.
Yes.
Right? That's a weird thing.
And Ren's like, there's no chance of that. It's like, you're damn right. There's
with
no
my
chance
with my
of
gray
that.
sweatshirt. Okay. Anyway, so look, that sort of wraps this up for us. But please comment down below if you can think of anything else that we've missed. I'm sure we've missed 100 things. There's a few things that we didn't even talk about that are actually on the list.
Yeah.
If you come up with anything, please let us know.
Yeah.
We're going to be doing more of these. This is the first of a series. We'll figure out what we're going to call it. Anyway, we really appreciate you guys stopping by.
Absolutely.
And
Thank you.
please like and subscribe and hit the
and
notification.
subscribe,
Please.
like and subscribe right here, right here. Psh. Yes.
Anyway,
Bye.
take it
Thank
easy.
you.